This is everything you need to know in patch 10.6 in Smite. The Season of Souls brings upon a new game-wide mechanic called Soul Surges. Whenever a player dies, there is a little area of effect which will kind of darken your screen, give it a more kind of soul-y, undead feel. It'll kind of glow your screen green a little bit. While within that area, you get more movement speed. You will deal bonus damage if you are below 50% health, and if you die within that Soul Surge, your respawn timer is actually reduced. That effect does not apply to Conquest, but for everything else it does. And there will also be spirits that spawn within the Soul Surge. These spirits can hit you, but will reward you with gold and experience when killed. In an update, it is looking like we're in the underworld, fellas. A little bit of an undead kind of ominous feel. Geometry changes in the middle lane, makes the lane much wider. Feels very fun to play with. There's also a capture point called the Stygian Beacon. The beacon is a permanent buff that gives you increased damage to structures and gives you movement speed on everyone on your team when you get it. Similar to other capture points in games, stand on it, get it faster. The more people that stand on it, the faster you get it. There will be 3 beacons per game. They can be captured by any combination of enemy teams and your own team. They can get all 3, you can get all 3, they can get 2, you can get 1, and so on. After all 3 have been captured, Titans will literally march down the lane and fight each other. They will always go to the same lane. They will always be swinging away at each other. You can basically think of them as this season's version of a trebuchet from season 9. This is really cool and cinematic to play with, and I've had a lot of fun with it. One small note to this: you cannot end the game and kill the enemy Titan when the Titans are unleashed. It is literally their Titan that marches out. This is not a copy. It is their Titan that marches out. You have to kill it, then the Titan will go back to the base, then you can kill it in the base, then you win the game. Fire Giant now has a 5-minute respawn again and a 4-minute buff similar to how it had in every other season. Titans, Towers, Bastions, Phoenixes all have less health and protection. Pyromancer, Oracle, Scorpions, Mid-Harpies, any neutral camp gives you more experience and gold, while camps on your side of the map give you less. This is to encourage fighting. There is a game-wide stat squish. Every single item had their power reduced by 30%, while health and protections were reduced by 15%. Any unchanged items were items that did not have either, which are Odysseus Bow and Toxic Blade. To accompany this, there is a percent penetration revert. A couple patches ago, it was changed to have the cap at 32%. Now the cap will be moved back to 40%, and every single item that had its percent penetration change will be reverted as well. The stat squish really just means that tanks are a little bit tankier in the early game. The late game between every role feels pretty much the exact same. Some outliers with these items, you will notice something like Absolution get a quality of life buff along with the stat squish. Any underperforming items like that have been buffed. Other items that feel really good along those lines are something like War Flag. When it comes to defensive auras, every single defensive aura for supports except for Gauntlet of Thebes has been nerfed. I would say that Gauntlet of Thebes is just the better option for support starter first item rather than Prophetic Cloak. I will go as far to say Prophetic Cloak is actually a dead item in support. Past that, all the support starters have been nerfed except for, in my opinion, kind of Compassion and War Flag. I would actually say we are in a War Flag meta because neutral camps are worth so much more. Having duo lane pressure feels really strong right now. You will also notice that there are movement speed nerfs across the board on this patch on a lot of items. No more race car health support going around and healing everybody. Other standout items on this patch are combo items that go with Pridwin. Like I mentioned, you will notice a lot of tank builds prioritize Pridwin as a damage option. Pridwin in combination with things like Relic Dagger glyphs or with things like Dawnbringer, which also got a quality of life buff, feels very strong on this patch. If you allow a tank to blink on you, sunder you, and full kit you, and you don't press a single relic because you are bad at the game like I am, you will get killed by a tank in the late game. However, if you are better than me, you will still kill tanks just as easily as you could before. And finishing up, we have some god changes. Aphrodite and Hel have less movement speed. Yamoja will get the same treatment on her Riptide. Hachiman will do less damage. Tier passive is nerfed. The mono ult duration is nerfed. This is a big one. The big baby feels much easier to play against. Thank God, that character has been so annoying. Buff wise, Anhur has more attack speed, more slow. Achilles has a higher execute threshold. Artemis pokes more often. Basta and Cleona are more annoying. Erlang jungle is back. Fafnir can be a dragon for a minute instead of 40 seconds, which is really cool. And Kuzenbo is going to hit you harder with his reflect damage. Sobek also has infinite cooldown hack because every single ability except for his ultimate had cooldown reduction. Don't know why, but it does. And Zhonghui is one tanky fat fucker. All in all, I've played quite a bit of scrims over the past couple weeks and in-houses to go along with it on this patch. I know a lot of these changes seem really scary scary and it is a lot to be overwhelmed by, but I have been having a lot of fun on the patch. I think it feels very, very good for every role. The biggest one I would say is mages feel a little bit weaker in terms of killing people in the early game, specifically killing tanks in the early game, but it's nothing like patch 9.5 where you literally couldn't even clear your own red buff. Overall, I think the game feels very balanced, every role feels impactful, and I'm excited for everybody to get their hands on it. Let me know what you guys thought of the patch, what you're excited to play with in the comments below. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this TLDR and want to see more videos like it in the future, and subscribe if you're new here. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!
One if I'm trolling from Professor BM. You can hear the audience. I wonder if there's a